Coverage of the 2018 Commonwealth Games. Brought to you by Manx Radio and Manx Telecom.
And good morning to you in the Isle of Man. We're broadcasting for the final time live from Australia's Gold Coast. And as the sun's been rising where you are in the Isle of Man, it's been setting on our athletes' 2018 Commonwealth Games experience. An incredible 10 days of sporting drama will culminate in this evening's closing ceremony. It's been a glorious day here once again, a rather fitting end to the Games. Australia's Gold Coast has proved beautiful one day, perfection the next. But it's been a bit odd today because we've had no Manx athletes to follow around and cover their sport. So, well, what do you do on your day off? Joe Pack is at the Wildlife Sanctuary. Joe, tell me, are koala bears as cute and cuddly as they appear in pictures?
Well, I'm going to have to tell you off straight away because it's not koala bears. Now I had that and I got into trouble. So I had to redo a little video that we've done about the flag bearer announcement that is on Facebook right now, because it's actually, you have to say koala, no bear in it whatsoever. So I am at Currumbin Wildlife Sanctuary, and what a beautiful place it is to end the Gold Coast Commonwealth Games. I have had a koala in my arms and oh, they're just absolutely adorable. In fact, I tried to run off with it, if I'm honest with you. But talk about running off, we have got the cyclists that have had to run off because they have to get back to get back into competition. So they go on their way back to the UK. And I've just had some news to tell me that Matthew Draper has been dared by team manager, team coach Andrew Roach. He's dared him £50 to wear the Isle of Man cycling kit all the way back to Abu Dhabi. And the rest of the team has said that they've chucked him in and they've made a total of 120. And I've now challenged him to wear it all the way back to the Isle of Man, giving him an extra amount of money, but only if all of this is going to charity. And he's agreed it's going to go to the Craig's Heart Strong charity and also Manx Cancer too. So Matthew Draper is travelling from the Gold Coast all the way to the Isle of Man, about 33 hours in man's cycling kit, Chris.
Well, excellent, and a great cause there as well, of course. And, well, the cycling team, they finished in the road race yesterday. They were also in track action as well, and, of course, the time trial. But in general, the athletes have had a pretty decent games, I think you would say. I went to the athletes' village earlier to try and speak to general team manager Trevor Taubman, but unfortunately, I couldn't get in. It's in lockdown at the moment due to the closing ceremony, which is taking place later tonight. So I called in a favour from the main man, Alex Bell, in Manx Radio's news desk, and he gave Trevor a call.
Oh, in truth, I'm really pleased with the way the athletes have performed. Obviously, we've had some better results in some better sports with the athletes, but overall, if I looked at a broad spectrum of the whole team and the time being here and what they've managed to perform and the level they've performed at, I'm really, really pleased. We've obviously got some quality athletes in the team. And while some people may or may not have attained personal bests or where they were hopefully want to attain scores and distances, etc., they certainly gave everything they possibly could to ensure that they delivered the best they possibly could for the Isle of Man. So overall, I'm definitely very pleased with their performance.
An incredibly busy week, lots of highs and lows. What's been your highlight, though?
It's always nice to say you're coming home with some silverware, so the highlight would have to be seeing Tim Neal very close to possibly winning gold, but attaining silver and being delighted with that result. I know Tim was delighted in getting the silver medal, and so it would have to be the highlight. But there have been many highlights, certainly highlights within the pool where we had the closeness of the 4th place and the 5th place. And even within shooting with Rachel Glover, how close she was to possibly attaining medal possibilities, but just falling away at the end, unfortunately. So they were certainly high points. I can't say I can recall low points. Low points is where the athletes are disappointed in their own performance, maybe, and I know that some of them have been, be it on the track, be it on the road race, be it on the athletics track, or whatever. The athletes themselves will often come to you and say, yeah, I could have done better. But when I looked at them and the way they've represented their sport and the Isle of Man, I haven't seen a low that I would be anywhere near critical of. I'm delighted with the team, delighted with the way they've performed, and they've certainly made sure the Isle of Man was well represented at what can only be classed as world classic event.
Well, we await the triumphant return of Team Isle of Man to the island soon. Preparations begin then for the 2022 Games in Birmingham.
Well, yeah, and certainly for some of the athletes, this will be a springboard for that to happen, and I'm certainly hopeful it will. When you look at the team we certainly have here, I'd have to class it as a very young team. So 4 years onto that, with 4 years more experience, and certainly, moving on to new levels of coaching and the abilities they can attain, I think it's very much something to look forward to in Birmingham in 22.
That was General Team Manager Trevor Taubman there. As I say, I did go to the Athletes Village, but unfortunately I couldn't get in. They take their closing ceremonies very seriously here on the Gold Coast. It has been confirmed, though, that Charlotte Atkinson, the swimmer, on a bronze medal in the pool. She will be the Isle of Man's flag bearer, and there's a video online that Joe has done from the Wildlife Sanctuary, which you can check out, where she announces that Charlotte Atkinson will be the flag bearer. So Joe, the closing ceremony is tonight, and I believe you've been speaking to a couple of people who are involved with it.
Well, I spoke to a young girl, that's right, Chris. It was actually before the opening game ceremony that I bumped into Talia. I was on my way, funny enough, as we've just been talking about, to the Athletes Village. And I asked her to just tell me a little bit about herself.
My name's Talia McInnes.
Talia, how old are you?
I'm 16 years old.
Talia, we just met on the train, and I saw the baton going past, which was exciting in itself, but then you've jumped on, obviously, wearing the official gear. Just tell us what you're getting up to.
Performing in the closing ceremony. Yep, so I've got lots of rehearsals coming up, and yeah.
So what exactly are you doing?
So I'm singing and dancing with my school, so I've been asked to perform. Yeah.
Talia, let's just talk about the amount of rehearsals that you've had for the closing ceremony. Talk me through that.
Oh, we've had so many. We've had full afternoons. We've we've got some coming up that are like all day, so within the next 2 weeks coming up.
And are you rehearsing all the way through, or is it just your bit each time that you're doing, and then obviously you've got the dress rehearsal where you go all the way through?
So we've actually been rehearsing the whole thing, so we've been rehearsing from start to finish every single rehearsal.
So how long has that taken?
2.5 hours.
And in the heat as well?
Oh yes, and then we have to go back and then fix up and everything, so yeah.
Are you being well looked after? I mean, fed with lots of water and obviously making sure that you keep them cool?
Yeah, definitely. We've been having like heaps of water, most breaks and stuff, yeah.
What does that feel like to be taking part of the world's most prestigious event?
Oh, it's amazing. Like, I would never think that I would be a part of something this spectacular.
What's your school called?
Southport State High School.
And obviously you're with your friends doing this too, are you? So they're all very excited?
Yes, we're like so excited just to be in there and just performing.
Well, we wish you the very best of luck for the closing ceremony. Thanks for talking to us.
Thank you, you too.
That's Talia, who's going to be performing this evening at the closing ceremony. I'm sure she's getting very excited right now, just leading up to that, because it's only a couple of hours' time that ceremony is going to be taking place in the stadium where I was lining up, and I just happened to bump into an Olympic gold medalist, somebody that I looked up to whilst watching the Olympics, the one and only Daley Thompson CBE. I'm just standing in the queue of getting in to go and watch the badminton and bumped into Mr. Daley Thompson. It's great to see you, Daley.
Thank you very much, Joe, but I'd like to think you're going to tell the listeners that it was more of a physical bump than anything else.
Well, it was more the fact that I asked for a selfie, and people back in the Isle of Man know that I love a selfie. Just tell me what you're up to here then as a spectator, what you've been watching.
I'm here as a plus one, and I've just been going out, watched a bit of hockey. I've seen a little bit of netball, which was really good, and a little bit of squash and quite a lot of athletics. So I'm having a brilliant time.
What's it like sitting back and actually just enjoying this instead of competing?
Do you know what? It actually is good fun. Obviously, it's always nice when you're out there, but watching it is so less stressful.
I can totally imagine. How do you think all the competitors are feeling in the games at the moment?
Well, I suspect all the ones that have already finished are having the time of their lives, and all the ones that are yet to compete are getting a bit anxious. But that's the way it is. I think that everybody's having a great time because all the people from Queensland and the Gold Coast, they've put on a really good show, and food's great and people are happy, and so everybody's having a great time.
The Isle of Man have just got a silver medal in shooting by Tim Neal. Can you offer any congratulations?
Yes, congratulations, Tim Neal. A fantastic job because you're only a small place.
A mention from Daley Thompson about Tim Neal. Oh, we are meeting some people, aren't we, Chris?
Yeah, it appears we're rubbing shoulders with the bigwigs today. We've been in the pool with Mike Bushell of BBC Breakfast this morning. There's a great video again online, and you can actually watch exclusive content by going to manxradio.com/portal, and of course follow us on the usual platforms at Facebook and of course at Twitter. It's been quite a privilege to say that I've met Mike Bushell, and we'll be hearing from an Olympic gold medalist again later on in the programme, who I caught up with earlier on in the Games. But it's time to pay the bills with some adverts.
Coverage of the 2018 Commonwealth Games. Brought to you by Manx Radio and Manx Telecom.
Welcome back to Today at the Games with myself, Chris Cave, and Joe Pack, who's busy cuddling some koalas at the Currumbin Wildlife Sanctuary here down under. It's Sunday the 15th of April, which means it's the final day of Games action. We've had a number of finals here in Australia today, and all that will culminate in the closing ceremony at the Carrara Stadium later this evening, where majority of the athletes who have been competing here will take part and I think enjoy the closing ceremony, the sun setting on their Gold Coast experience. Flag bearer for the Isle of Man this evening will be Charlotte Atkinson. Now, she was distraught earlier on when she missed out on a bronze medal in the 200 metres butterfly in the pool. It was a great effort, fractions of a second away from winning a medal, and you could see all the emotions coming out of her at the end. She really didn't want to face the media, which is something that some athletes do struggle with from time to time, that they don't want to discuss a performance, especially if it may have gone not as planned, maybe badly in their eyes. And I've been speaking to Matthew Pinsent, who won gold medals at Olympic Games in 4 consecutive events in the rowing. So he's a man with great stature, a fantastic athlete, and he's since turned into a broadcaster. So I asked him what it's like for athletes to come and face the media after an event where perhaps they haven't performed as planned.
Do you know what? For rowing, I'd like to say we are always welcoming to people to come and cover our sport. We're a relatively small part of the sports array, just as a lot of the Commonwealth sports are relatively small. And so on the whole, people are absolutely delighted that you're there. And the sort of BBC brand will travel very well internationally. Say to an Aussie, we're here with the BBC. They're like, anything we can do to help, and this will be great, great, you're here, and you can shoot from here, and you can do this, and you can do that. So broadly, you're welcomed, but there are times I absolutely know it's the last thing that people want to do. They just want to walk straight past you and out the door, and that's fine too. Ultimately, they've got control. They can say yes or no at any point. They can just walk away. But equally, that's a shop window for them to win fans and win respect. Irrespective of the result, it's a chance for them to say, look, this is our sport, this is how we've done, and this is what I feel.
There's an interesting point you made about sometimes you know the athletes, sometimes you don't. Do you find it easier when you don't actually know the athletes, especially when they've done badly? And I'll give you an example. We've been covering the Isle of Man, as you know.
Yeah.
Only 32 athletes. It's a very small place in comparison to some of the other nations here. You tend to know them a bit better than other broadcasters will know their athletes. So when you've got to ask a hard question, it is very difficult.
Yes, I think, I've had to get used to that transfer at the end of my sports career. And the way I've justified it to myself is I shouldn't be afraid of asking a question that I would want to ask them face to face. The tricky thing is when it's gone wrong. A good performance, a medal-winning performance, that's sort of easy. The tough bit is where they haven't performed, especially to expectation. Either the expectation that's coming from outside, their favourite, they've won medals before, whatever, or the expectation in their own head about their own build-up and the way that they've come in. So the logic in my head is I'm never going to ask them a question I wouldn't ask to their face. And if I sat down, a cafe with them, had a coffee an hour later, sometimes you're saying, well, what happened there then? You know, basically, tell me more. I want to know why that didn't go right. And yes, that can be sympathetic, or it can't be. You know, because I think you've got a responsibility to the viewer and the listener not to hide away from the fact, because sport is brutal. It's no harder than what they've just done on the field of play. It's absolutely no harder. And these people are, in the main, professional. They are totally used to the spotlight and taking responsibility.
Daley Thompson, Matthew Pinsent and Joe Pack all in the same programme. You lucky, lucky people. Matthew Pinsent, he was talking there about handling the media and as an athlete, especially when your performance hasn't gone as planned, and he would know, although majority of his career it seemed to be him winning medals. And I was talking to him there really about Charlotte Atkinson, who is the flag bearer this evening at the closing ceremony, because that was a very, very difficult interview to do personally. I think you build up a bond with these athletes, so when you do have to interview them and ask them questions when they're clearly emotional, it is very, very difficult, but that's what sport is all about. Conversely, there were also tears at the shooting on Wednesday when Tim Neal picked up the island's only medal, and he was also emotional. He's been through a 4-year process, well, longer for him, as he's been at GB as well in the Olympics, but that's a very, very different interview to do, because you know that they're tears of joy, and it's relief, I suppose, that they have done business when it matters. Joe Pack, are you still at the wildlife sanctuary there?
Do you know, I am. Before I just go on, I do want to mention that we have just uploaded on our Facebook page the second part of my interview with Tim Neal, and actually he gives away his secrets as to how he thinks he gets on to cope with the struggles of getting through to the games when things perhaps aren't always going according to plan, and what he does. So make sure that you do go and have a look at Facebook and our manxradio.com portal, because you'll see the second part of the interview following his journey to the games. But yes, I am still at Currumbin Wildlife Sanctuary Park, and actually it's closed at 5 o'clock here, and it's now 5:25, so I'm going to get kicked out. I know I am. But Chris, I've had the most incredible games, and I'm feeling very emotional right now. So just watching so much sport, and also meeting some amazing people like the Aboriginal people that I met, just also walking around in shorts and t-shirt. It has been an incredible time, hasn't it?
Yes, I think it's the accents as well when you hear on the trams, and it's called the Friendly Games, and you understand why when you're in the thick of it, and you are speaking to people. They've been incredibly good hosts, I have to say, the Australians, even if they have won too many medals in my eyes. I'd like to have seen a few more for the Isle of Man, but I'm very content with my lot. What's been your game's highlight though, Joe?
My game's highlight, I have to say, I mean, obviously it's fantastic we're coming away with a medal, but also for each individual athlete. For me, it's been so privileged to be in the positions that I've got to. For instance, standing on the start line of the men's road cycling race and actually watching it so many times on TV, but there I am taking a photo of everybody on the start line as they're being called to the start line. Watching Nicole Burns in the in the gymnastics, she was outstanding. Really enjoyed the bowls. Never knew much about bowls before I came out here. And also in the swimming, the team medley relay really sticks out for me. So many, and I just don't want to upset anybody by saying that I've missed anyone out. The whole experience, I'm crying. It's ridiculous, but it has been emotional, and I'm so proud of our team. Chris, take it away from me now.
I can hear your voice breaking, Joe, and it's just what we were talking about there. When you're doing an interview, it's very difficult, so I won't keep you talking, Joe. But I think my highlight, personally, I know Sam Brand, I've been speaking to him quite a bit in the build-up to the games, and he was really, really keen to get out there in the road race and do well. Unfortunately, it didn't go according to plan. He crashed early on, and he borrowed a punter's bike, and I think he really bonded with the Aussie public there, so that was a very nice moment for him, and I know he was distraught not to finish, but a great effort from him. I just want to say thank you to my colleagues with me here down under. Joe Pack and Louisa Bowker have done a fantastic job and worked tirelessly in the heat. A big thank you also to our producers back in the Isle of Man, Ben Hartley, Alex Brindley, Mark Tiley, and the devilishly handsome Chris Williams. And finally, the biggest thank you of all to you, the listeners. Without you, can't do the radio, but let's hand back for the headlines at 8:30.